Greetings and welcome. Welcome to my very special Purple Portal. And it is the beginning of November, and I am your host, the somewhat reluctant mystic, the wanderer. I wonder about lots of stuff, and the wanderer. And I bring you thoughts and insights so that you can wonder and wander inside of your mind and allow your spirit to go free with new thinking. So I am Elaine Bartlett, and I warmly invite you to participate today. If the spirit gives you the bing on the forehead. And to do that, you could call in at 321-806-3159. You're also welcome to go to my website, higherconsciousness.com, HIERCONSCIOUSNESS.com. So it is the beginning of November, and it's a beautiful day here in South Florida. I hope wherever you are, it is beautiful. I know up north, the leaves are falling, and definitely autumn is in the air. It is also the day after the All-Hallowed Halloween. Halloween seems to have become a major national holiday in the United States. I'm not quite sure how that happened. It had to have been something to do with fluffing up retail sales a number of years ago. Maybe this is a little low time or something. But 1/4 of all the candy sold annually in the United States is purchased for and at Halloween. It's astounding to me. That's a lot of candy. And it means a lot of health issues for people. Before I came into this studio today, I went and popped into a store. The store felt like a morgue. People looked glazed over. They looked unwell. They looked unhappy. They looked not even present. And I really wanted to take a little survey. How many of them are in sugar shock today? Thankfully, although I was on open the door duty for some loved ones as they all went out trick-or-treating, but thankfully I stayed away from all of it. And that's a big act of will on my power. I tend to have a bit of a sweet tooth. But I don't know. The more I look at that holiday, it really is, to my taste, over the top now. And I can't quite also figure out what is our penchant for frightening each other and for being frightened. The only ones who didn't want to be frightened were the really little children. And I thought to myself, they're the only ones who are maintaining a sense of wisdom and innocence. And the costumes were gory and horrible. And is this a deep, deep part of our psyche? What is this? Is it that we no longer appreciate beauty? Is it that we no longer want to stand straight and tall as something wonderful? I did take note. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. There was not a Hillary costume. There was not a Trump costume. There was not an Obama costume. There was not even a George Washington costume. The costumes that were prevalent were some make-believe characters I've never even heard of. I can't even remember now the names of them, but one seemed very prominent. Oh, Minions. Yeah, many of them were Minions. Like, all righty then. My favorite, of course, were the little butterflies, the little kids who were the fairy princes and princesses, and the little pirates, they were okay. But the ones that looked like they had their mouths stitched shut with some sort of black goop. I'm like, whoa, what is that about? Is their spirit not able to speak? You see, my nature would go to, why are you wearing that costume? What does that really mean to you? Thankfully, I kept my mouth shut and just wished all these kids, from whether they were 6 feet tall or a foot and held in mommy and daddy's arms, I just wish them well. But I really don't get this holiday. And I researched this morning, how did this even come up? And its roots are not particularly pleasant. So I'm going to suggest to you, Google it and see the origin of this thing. And then it's tied in with the Feast of All Saints and All Souls Day. And that makes me laugh too. But before I get on to All Saints Day, which is today, one final little insight about yesterday and the monies that were spent. 2.5 billion, that would be B as in boy, were spent on costumes. You add the candy into it and the other paraphernalia, $6 billion in total. It's second most to the in commercial spending to the holiday. It's second right after Christmas. I'm like, wow. Now, I am a generous spirit, and I'm the first to be giving, and I'm a happy giver. But something in me, when I heard these figures today, I thought, wait a minute. As the guy is standing at the corner with his homeless sign, looking beaten and bedraggled, and I'm not suggesting we're going to transform the whole kingdom of homeless people. Some of them have to be homeless. It's their soul's choice. But this seemed such a random, blatant misspending of monies. And these same people that have spent this money are going to be saying they don't have enough money for something important, whatever that might be. And the important thing, of course, in my world would be get some knowledge, travel, see the world, take better care of your home and your belongings. So I don't know. I found those numbers more sickening than the thought of all the candy that I could have and would have ingested probably as a little kid. So just some food for thought, not such sweet food for thought, but food for thought. So today is All Saints Day. Now, in Christianity, this is a day, in Catholicism, it's considered what they call a holy day of obligation. And this is to salute those that they have verified and positively known that they got to heaven. Well, that makes me chuckle too, because that's kind of an enormous judgment. Because tomorrow, November 2nd, All Souls Day, which is not a holy day of obligation, well, that honors the poor slobs that supposedly didn't get into heaven. I'd like to know who's in charge of the decision-making on you got in and you didn't. I think it's pretty interesting to contemplate. So tomorrow, when the poor guys are supposed to be honored that didn't get to heaven, I don't know, I'd kind of give up a bigger prayer. Maybe they need more help than the guys that supposedly got to heaven. I've done a lot of research and contemplation on heaven, and heaven, the word itself is a Greek word, which simply means harmony. So every time you are sincerely in a deep point of harmony, you're in heaven. And guess what? The core of you, the pure radiance of you, that divine essence of you, it's never left heaven in the first place. So some of these thoughts are pretty antiquated and scrambled, And frankly, there's downright not truthful. So you can tell. I get a little huffy about who's made it and who hasn't made it. Because in my book, I don't care what costume you're wearing, you're still God in drag. Now, you may have forgotten it. The costume may have eclipsed all of who you really are, but drop your costuming. And underneath that, you are brilliant. You are sunlight. You are starlight. You are illuminated. So maybe all of that mixed in together into this witch's cauldron is what unsettles me about what's triggered by yesterday with people, for the most part, looking and behaving poorly, unpleasantly, frighteningly. You got it, right? And I know we're dying, and maybe some of this old thinking can die. And if my thoughts on All Saints' Day have triggered something in some of you listening to this, think it through from a different point of view. You might find you start questioning a lot of things about what's been fed to you, because most of it does not make any sense. I was taught to beat my chest and say 3 times, I am not worthy. It took me a number of years to recover from that. Many of you have probably been in therapy because of it. I proclaim you not only worthy today, I proclaim you bright and beautiful and anything but scary if you would let all the costuming drop away. So if you have any questions about that, or you want to comment, or you want to verbally go to war with me, you're welcome to. Although you won't get a war back, you'll only get a multi-dose of love. But the number is 321-806-3159. I did receive a lovely it's a poem actually, from one of my listeners in Arizona. And I've kind of been keeping it for that special time. And I think today is the special time. This actually was written by the mystic Rumi, R-U-M-I. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Rumi's mysticism and his thinking, Google him, look him up. His work is beautiful. So this is a short poem, and here we go. Don't go back to sleep. For years, copying other people, I tried to know myself. From within, I couldn't decide what to do. Unable to see, I heard my name being called. Then I walked outside. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the 2 worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. I think that's beautiful. And I think a lot of people in this country have fallen sound asleep. They've been lulled to sleep. They've been cajoled to sleep. They've been sugared to sleep. They've been poisoned to sleep. But don't go back to sleep. Wake, listen, wake. That wakefulness is in the breeze. It's not like you're going to go get enlightened instantly. It's the breeze. It's the wave of the ocean. It's the leaves on the trees. There is everything you need to be experiencing. That is the all in all, because it's you. So that's that part. Now I want to talk a little bit about what's happening cosmically here. No, can't do that yet. I do have to remind all the people in this area, please, this Friday, November 4th, 6:30 to 8 p.m., I will be speaking on, well, they've named the topic mindfulness, at the library, Evans Library at Florida Institute of Technology. This is sponsored by the New York Times. And so it's in their library. That's Evans Library. If you need more information, contact the library at 321-674-8086. Once again, it's 321-674-8086. I can share with you it is a free lecture, although my take on mindfulness is going to be mindlessness. Stay out of your mind. Focus what you have to, and then let's use this mind in a slightly different way to actually remember the essence of you. So that's that piece coming up. And then what's happening? So here we have stepped into energetically the month of November, November 1st. But on Saturday, we actually step into the real shift of the month according to Mother Nature. And then it shifts into what is termed the month of the pig. That's the P-I-G, pig. And it is the month that starts the winter cycle. The winter cycle is 3 months. So we're stepping right into the pig. Now, what the translation for that to you is, we have a few more days. We've got just Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to finish out the transition cycle of the autumn or metal cycle. That means anything that you've been worried about or have anxiety about or stomach issues, spleen issues, actually they're going to start coming to a close. So put your worries down and get ready for this, what is called the water cycle. And the water cycle, very powerful. Every cycle brings its own sense of aliveness and information for you. So it's interesting when a whole new trinity begins. So in this water cycle, you're going to be looking at things like your kidneys and bladder. Those are the organs. Just as the stomach and spleen were the organs connected with this dog month, well, so was anything having to do with transition. So hopefully some of you are now more alert and alive to any transitions that you could be making. And under this water energy, here's what becomes available to take a look at. It's called fears, all of your fears. And the mechanism for fear, F-E-A-R, is false evidence appearing real. So you want to be very protective of your kidney chi at this time. Here's some ideas of where you could slip and slide with fear. The holidays are coming. You fear where you're going to spend them. You fear where you're not going to spend them. You fear how you're going to pay for them. A lot of Americans would have had more money to pay for holidays if they had not just invested $6 billion in Halloween stuff. So fears are coming up. Fears where you're fearful of, is this person going to ask me out? Am I going to be invited here? Are my children going to go home? Will my children speak to me? Will I speak to my children? So lots of fears. And with water comes the sense of blue. Waters are blue, the deep blue sea. But so does come the sense of I feel blue. Now, here's the challenging part. Not only, to me, Halloween is like the starting gun of really crummy eating for the next 3 months. And the more you indulge in all of the sugars and the starches, you will feel blue. And now the energy that was harming your stomach chi will now play havoc with your kidneys. And so a lot of Americans use the expression almost with as a badge of honor, that pissed me off. Well, you want to be careful of that, because you're telling your bladder that you're unhappy, and you will have bladder trouble. I mean, it sounds insane that it could be that simple, but it is. And the kidneys, they're your point of purification. So with all this junk that we're now starting to ingest, it can't keep up. And when it can't keep up, everything becomes broken down. And unfortunately, everything in your life gets broken down, but the blood and all of what the nutritional components for the body, they're not broken down properly. So then the tendency is you feel cranky, you feel bloated, your behavior is you can't make a decision, your perception is off. And what happens in this case is the whole vital essence of you is out of whack, because the kidney chi is your vital essence. It's the pure primal life energy. So we get pumped up, and then you go to the gathering and you then get pumped up. You may have had a donut for breakfast, slice of pizza for lunch, and then you go to the party, and now you're going to have, some alcohol. It's impossible for the kidney to keep up with this. It really, really is. So then the lethargy strikes, but then to get over the lethargy, give me another drink, give me another candy bar, and it becomes a very dangerous catch-22. The kidneys actually regulate the amount of water in your body. So you may want to have a lot of water on hand. It would be your saving grace for the next 3 months. The other thing that would be extremely helpful would be soup. All of my Chinese masters, when I was studying feng shui, when they would get to the part that involved body feng shui, the mantra was eat soup, eat soup, eat soup. Miso soup, any of the legumes, you know what to do. You don't need cream of everything at the holiday time, but just those pure liquids, really good for you. Chicken broth, it's what the Jewish mothers have healed their kids with for eons. Have become a little Jewish mother or father and have a lot of chicken soup. Interesting, the other day I was speaking of chickens, I was buying a little dinner for my family was coming on Sunday for dinner, and I was mulling over the chickens, deciding what should I get. And I'm thinking, you're reading the labels now like a hound, okay? And this label is saying, okay, free range and all these labels. And I'm trying to stay very steady and thinking, okay, this looks pretty pure. And a gal comes next to me, and another woman joined her, and they start chatting, one saying to the other, oh, how long have you worked in this store, in this grocery store? And the woman goes, oh, now I think it's like almost 18 or 20 years. And the woman who asked said, wow, you must know meats inside and out and backward. I sure do. And with that, she's picking up the very chicken kind of thing that I'm looking at and says, oh, yeah, and this is what I give to my dog. I'm like, oh, boy. Ay, 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 ay. And it was that particular chicken seemed to be pretty pure. But no, I went over back to where it's completely organic, completely lovingly sung to before they're killed. Every happy good thing you could imagine about a poor chicken. And, of course, you pay twice as much. But I'm thinking, man, this gal who's really into it, works here, knows better, she's only going to give it to the dog? Think about what you're eating. Read the labels. Okay, so with this energy of the pig coming in, and incidentally, those of you who are born under the sign of the pig In Chinese, it's their very favorite sign. It's considered the luckiest of the Chinese zodiac. And usually when people find out they're the pig, they kind of shy away thinking, no, I don't want to be that. But it's not like the American pig that's led to slaughter. No, this is the happy animal that is industrious and loving and generous. So it's a very good sign. All right, so that's kind of where I want to take you with just be careful ladder this cycle. I'm telling you, I can feel in my bones that because of all of the changes that are about to happen in our country next week, I think people are going to be eating very carelessly. So let's take a look at next week, shall we? So I know many of you have voted, some of you have not voted, and interestingly, this is happening all under the sign of Scorpio. The planetary ruler is Pluto. This is all about what we call eighth house. So that's the number 8. It's the eighth house energy, and it's all about death, rebirth, transformation, and regeneration. So whatever is about to befall the American public, this one is big. This one comes at a time when all of the heavens have risen up to participate in this particular change. Half of the tribe is going to feel like they've received a death sentence, and the other half of the tribe is going to feel regenerated and rejuvenated. So whichever half of the tribe you fall in, neither one is correct. The only correct thing is pure essence. And neither one of those neither one of the choices are correct, and I'd say that about any choices, because they're transitory and changeable. And anything that is changeable is not of high truth. Now, the essence of each of these people, if they could allow it to shine, is pure presence. It would have to be. It has to be pure presence because there is only one. There is only one infinite presence, and it is everywhere. So all of you who have been so filled with your hate tantrums, or the other extreme, the puffed out, it's my candidate, drop it. It's a veil you're wearing. It's a cloak you're wearing. But I must tell you, if you could see with the third eye, you'd look in the mirror and you'd feel sick to your stomach. It's very sick. It's sickening to watch because it's unpleasant. And it's not truthful. Forget unpleasant. That's like a human word. It's simply not truthful. So both candidates have a soul mission to bring things up close and personal to you, to remember what you're about. And it's interesting, in this past week, there's been a lot of flurry. I mean, you'd almost have to be under, I do think I live under a stone, but I still do hear wisps of information. And what's very striking to me is that our whole Department of Justice has perhaps not been particularly just. And I don't mean just this year. I mean perhaps for a long, long time. Which, of course, whether you like it or not, it's a reflection of your ability to live justly and truthfully. Because the people in that department, it's just a reflection of thee and me. And I know it's very disconcerting to look at it that way, but that's the simple truth because of oneness. So here we are with this Scorpio energy. Now I'm going to give you a little information about the Scorpio energy. It actually runs from October 21st basically to November 21st, sometimes the 22nd, in that vicinity. And this is a very mysterious sign. It is the death sign, and the sign in which the battle must be fought between your soul and your personality. So I just find it fascinating that election time in the United States is consistently in this sign of death. But it is saying to you, and some of you are kind of nodding off thinking, I'm not a Scorpio. I beg to differ with you. You are at least 1/12 Scorpio. You're a being, you're a full universe. It would be like saying, I'm a person and I have no head. Of course you have a head. Some of you don't use it well, but you have one. So under this sign, here's the challenge. Will you allow your personality to die? This is very pointedly what I'll be speaking about Friday at this university. Can they allow their personality to die? Personality is nothing. The essence of you is everything. The personality I can actually I can have an opinion about, I can have a preference about it, I could even make a judgment about it, and I could label you the devil or the angel. And the problem with Scorpio is there's no in between. So the Scorpio energy, it's the piece of you that is very opinionated, very sarcastic. It's the piece of you that holds a grudge. It's the piece of you that will have a resentment. It's the piece of you that will argue to the grave, literally in this case, that you're right and they're wrong. So that's why it needs to be transformed and transposed into that side which simply says, that's interesting. It's all as it should be. And you begin to put your sarcasm and judgments down. Last night while I was at this home doing the good deed of opening the door for little trick-or-treaters, they had inadvertently left the television on, thinking I would need the TV. That was very thoughtful. Well, the only thing I needed to understand was every station that I clicked to, because to me one was worse than the other, all that's spewed at the public, even if it's supposed to be a comedy, is hatred and barbs and let me see how much I can tear you down and ridicule you. What in God's... How did this happen to our people? I don't get it. Just mind-boggling. If anybody has a comment on that, please call in, because I'd like to think there's more than just me that is seeing this. I can't believe you've all fallen asleep and have become so hypnotized by it that you're not aware of the transformation that you have to make. The only way the TV stations will change is you don't watch it. The only way the Nestle company won't put out such junk, and dangerous junk is at that, you won't buy it. Well, at any rate, so there's an enormous battle being fought, and you know, we think it's being played out on television and in our governmental system. I wish it were that simple. This is being fought in your spirit. And I'm one who simply says, geez, I hope you take this time to die. And I say that with great, great love. Let these old coats and cloaks that are piled upon you from childhood, from when you're instructed subliminally to discriminate between November 1st and the poor suckers on November 2nd. Are you kidding me? Who looks at this stuff? Me. I do. Scorpion energy has a very strong sense of reserve. It's a very secretive energy. So that part of you that you hold secret, that's your Scorpio energy that you didn't think you had because maybe you're busy thinking you're a Libra or a Sagittarius. No, it's that different kind of energy. Scorpio is also considered the sex sign. Now, it's very interesting about this sex thing. On the low side, I had such a good article on that. I got to find that. Bear with me here. I thought this was terrific. Let's see here. All right. On the low side, the energy of the Scorpio would be connected actually to the Aries energy. That's the low side of sex. That's the feel good, want it now, and then it's over. Okay? Then there's the side that is the Taurian side. Sex for sale. And I have a feeling there's more of that in this country than my tender soul even wants to address. But the sex for sale, that's also the Scorpio energy. The Leo energy also gets in there on the low side with it's all for fun. And I'm sure many, many of you have had sex for fun, and it is fun. On the other hand, when you take sex into the Scorpio energy field, where it rightfully belongs, it is the single most powerful, most healing, most transformative act between two people. So you could see there'd be a lot of... Dear Scorpio gets a bad rap because all of the other aspects of it are often glaringly visible. But this one very sacred side that recognizes the opportunity to actually touch and honor and know the spirit of another human being. That's the true Scorpio energy. And that's where their perception and their power and the whole energy can make that come alive. So it's a really, really cool thing that they can use if they will. Scorpio is ruled by this Pluto energy. Now, I've spoken about Pluto a little bit in the past. With Pluto, we've got transformation on top of transformation. It is so palpable now with the Pluto energy. So regardless of what happens on Tuesday, regardless of who wins or loses, I really ask you to be very, very responsible. Responsible to yourself, to maintaining your point of discipline and harmony. There's no craziness. It's you learning to trust in life once again. Life does know what she's doing, believe it or not. We've come very far from that. We've been led down a garden pathway that, to say the least, is preposterous. So the Pluto energy, here's what it's bringing. It's divine design. So even that energy field has a divine design, like you do and I do. Its design is to reform all that's toxic and not authentic. In your life, it's actually expressed in the choices that you make. Are you going to invest in what's destructive? Is that the path you're going to take? That's the low end of it. That's the rioting. That's the insanity breaking loose. Are you going to invest, and this will be very prevalent after this coming Saturday, are you going to invest in the fear? That's why I mentioned the fear factor first. half of the tribe is going to be very, very frightened about this outcome. Or will you insist with that piercing Scorpio energy to be a part of creating a brighter world, no matter who's there? The truth is, and if you haven't figured this out at this point, you're more under a stone than I am. But the truth is, it doesn't matter who's there. You've been in a body a long time. Nothing's made any difference. The only difference is going to be you. What are you ready to do? It's true what Kennedy said. Ask not what this country can do for you. Ask what you can do. What can you do not only for the country, do for you first. Do for you. Clean up your diet. Clean up the feng shui in your house. I had a girl, she's taken many of my classes up in the Jersey area years and years ago. She now lives in Manhattan with her husband, have 2 small kids, and she called on Saturday, and she sounded completely disoriented. And I was like, well, what's happening to you? Oh, I'm fine. You know, every time we say I'm fine, I think, oh, yeah. I label it, okay, another member of the fine family. None of us are exactly fine right now. We're a bit confused, dazed, glazed, and trying our very best. But she was really confused and dazed and glazed. And I said to her, well, how's the feng shui? I mean, she had actually studied with me. She goes, oh my gosh, it's awful. Everything is in disarray. The kids' stuff is all over. I've got bags piled. Stuff should be given away. Like, what happened to you? I mean, I knew her that well that this was not her MO. Dead silence for what seemed a long time. It was probably 30 seconds. And she says, I got hooked on watching the elections. I got hooked on watching all this stuff. I was like, oh my God. It was so glaringly evident that this thing had not only sickened her spirit, now she's got players in the household that are also sickened by it. The cure, incidentally, for her, and some of you, it'll be the same thing. If your house and your spirit looks like this, I said to her, you turn off the, yes, I did say, damn TV, go into the master bedroom, and you start immediately in the master bedroom. And again, this silence. And she goes, oh, things are really piled up. I said, take one pile at a time. I love you all too much to have you be sick. And if you don't care about yourself, I care about the kids in the house. You're making them sick. So Pluto, oh, good old Pluto. See, here, Pluto is in a sign for almost 30 years. I mean, it's a big ticket thing. So it's about halfway through Capricorn. And Capricorn rules the government and all things business and big business, which is why many of you have had to revamp your businesses. You've been in a state of flux perhaps for the last 7 years. Well, it's about Pluto. It's trying to shatter who the heck you thought you were. It's trying to help you shatter your ego and your personality because it's a prison. Your ego and your personality are prisons to your growth. And you cling to the prison bars like you're going to stop them from crumbling. Their destiny is to crumble. I want your prison bars to crumble. And that knower part of you wants them to crumble too. And it's uncomfortable. It makes you think. It makes you stop thinking. It has you go all over the place. And nothing feels right. Nothing's been right in my life for the past 7 years. It's like I grab for something and it crumbles. It's kind of been a remarkable thing. Thankfully, because I want to know about the crumbling and I don't want to be a victim of it, I want to know what's happening. And then that gives me peace of mind to realize it's going to be shattered. The structures must be shattered. That's why this election is so important. And Pluto is going to send you hurling down into what seems like a bottomless pit. And if some of you haven't been there over the past 5, 7, 8 years, you just ain't been living, kids. So look to see what has changed. What pits have you been thrown into? What prison do you still need to break out of? Ask yourself, what have you settled for? How have you imprisoned yourself? And why? Don't you think you're valuable and deserve to be sprung out of your own self-made prison? Pluto is going to also be the light at the end of the tunnel. It's one and the same thing. Well, I'm going to also say welcome to a caller.
Hello?
Hi there.
Hi, Elaine. I just wanted to tell you that I have removed TV from the bedroom, got a new TV for the living room or family room. It's one and the same. And it is so wonderful now to have quiet in my bedroom that this morning, instead of getting up and just to have some background noise turning on the TV, I meditated. And the silence is so wonderful.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Now I can tell you miracles will happen.
Yes.
And in your meditation, I'm going to give you a little hint here. Just go right into the sense of presence within. You will become a living, breathing, 24/7 meditator. You won't actually have to go into that space on purpose. You just simply can now become it because you turned the TV off.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Thank you, Miss Nancy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a great day.
I appreciate your show. Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So you get to see miracles do happen when Pluto takes over. Is it comfortable being shaken out of your complacent hanging on to the plum tree? Not at all. It's a real big bump when you land on the ground. But you will recognize you're stronger than you ever thought. So Pluto's drama is playing out in the realm of finances, government, and the environment. And Pluto is going to use extremes to bring all the points home to you. The abuse in public trust is so at an all-time high pitch now that you'd have to be a willful denial being to ignore it. So open your eyes, look at what's done and being done unto you, and let this Pluto have a run about your life. Give up control. Take your hands off the wheel. Yet again, I remind you to do that. Take your hands off the wheel. So this will be a very interesting week, my friends, and I want you to think of eating soup and lots of water. If you have to throw the candy out that you so earnestly collected last night, do it. Let yourself be all that you should be. And use the energy and the power of this Scorpio energy to focus more clearly, to see what needs to be let go of, to regenerate, to rebirth. In other words, die with class and panache. Die happily, die easily, so that you can come up and live more miraculously and beautifully than you have ever lived in your life. This is your reluctant mystic Elaine, wishing you joy and beauty with every breath you take. Bye.